Okay, so good evening, everyone. I take it that everybody who's here tonight is on our startup group. I will be expecting a lot of conversation in the chat. Please make sure that you are, putting all your questions in the chat. Those of you that are on our WhatsApp group, you realize that I probably am not available 24 hours a day. And the best time to catch me is evening time. That's just because of the schedule that we have. But tonight's session is really been put together as just a Q&A so that we get a chance to answer some of those burning questions that have been there, and maybe people have not had a chance to go through them. And also, what I wanted to do today is to start to break down for you what's involved in a supported living business and what kind of things that you need to have in order for you to actually start. Okay, so does that sound like something that you'd like to do? I have had a very, very long day, so I really want to be able to engage with you. So if you are here, please just make sure you're texting, you're responding, so that I can also get a bit of energy from you, if that's okay. All right. So maybe the first thing to say is, what kind of week have you had? What kind of week have you had? Let me just ask you that. How is your week been? Have you already started your business, and what has your week been like on the business front this week? So can you just so far until today, until Thursday, from the last time that we had our last Zoom call, what has your week been like? What have you done, or have you done anything different? Girlie saying very confusing for me, trying to gather information. Okay, great, Girlie there. So you felt quite confused this week trying to gather information. I called the local authority but not asking the right questions. So Dudu called the local authority but was not asking the right questions. Okay, so we'll look at that as well, okay? Molin is still gathering information as well, okay. Okay, I think the best way to contact CQC or to be in contact with CQC is via phone. So if you ring the main, that 03 number, yeah? Mm-hmm. If you ring that one, they should then be able to direct you appropriately and send you to the right people. And now as well, they've got most of their forms are now on a portal. So if you register on the portal, on their portal, you can also be able to access your forms and send them back quite promptly, really. Well done for what you've done, and that acknowledgement that you've been able to do that in the week, isn't it? And kind of manage your time and get yourself motivated towards the goal. So that is great ownership of your vision. So well done for that. That's it. Okay, so let's find out then. Okay, on the CQC, let me just see if there's anyone else who asked a question about CQC here. Someone was saying that they called the local authority there and they were not asking the right questions. Maybe what we'll do then is we'll go through what is required first, okay? So if we go through what supported living business is and what is required for you to be able to set it up. If we go through that, that might give you a sense and a direction of where you should be and what you should be thinking about, okay? So let's start there, and then we'll pick up a few questions. Shall we do it that way? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so the supported living business, how it differs from supported living and how it differs from domiciliary care. Domiciliary care is care for people in their own homes, okay? So it's essentially going from one house to another where you're delivering care in people's homes. And this is quite diverse in the aspects of care. Some people do complex care, lots of different aspects, okay? But when we're talking about supported living, we're actually talking about delivering care. It can either be in someone's home where you're supporting them, or you can support them in the community, or you can support them in accommodation. So does that make sense? So this should take away from the thought that for you to do supported living or support, that you always have to do it in accommodation. It doesn't necessarily follow. You can actually be able to support just in the community. You can support someone in their own home. You can support somebody with accommodation. So you need to be thinking for yourself which aspect that you're thinking about. Then you move on from there. Then you've got what is called regulated services and unregulated services. So regulated services are services then that have a personal care element to go with them. And this is all, you know, if it's a CQC, you either regulate with CQC or you regulate with Ofsted. And if it is anything that you're regulating with CQC, then you're looking at the personal care aspect of things. And then you're also then considering whether you have chosen the option of going with accommodation, without accommodation, in the community. Now, if you've decided to go with the accommodation, then what that means is that you are then wanting to ensure that on your CQC registration, you're also adding that aspect of it. Okay, so that is on the regulated side. The CQC forms have recently been updated, so they are very different to the forms that were used before. So they are very different forms now. Maybe not so much as very different, but the measures and that are a little bit more stringent than perhaps how they were. And they keep updating them, obviously, going with what's going on, and with the COVID and everything else. So they keep updating that as well. Okay, and then what you also find that so that's the regulated services. If you're going to be doing anything with young people, anything under the age of 15 will need to be regulated by Ofsted. Okay, anything beyond the age of 16 may or may not. I think recently, over the last week or 2 weeks, most local authorities have now started saying that all 16 to 18 even need to be regulated by either Ofsted or CQC. So the unregulated element may have a very short-lived lifespan. It might be that they're actually phasing that out. So if you're one of those people who was thinking about going through to doing an unregulated service with accommodation, then you really might want to be considering going ahead and regulating your service one way or the other, in order that you can safeguard that as a business model going forward. Okay, and so those are the two main aspects. And then obviously there's different age groups, different types of supported living. It's not a blanket statement. It really just then depends on I suppose the population that you are targeting. So we don't all have to target the same population. Remember, last week we talked about your why. We talked about all of those things that then drive you into business, the reasons why you are doing things, your USP. We spoke about those things, isn't it? So now you want to be able to mix all of your skill set, your experience, your reasons why you're getting into business with identifying with a population group that you can best service, and that you can then be able to give the best quality of care. So you don't really want to go and target a group where you are going to have skill shortages or not really understand that particular industry, because it doesn't matter how much that we share policies or anything like that. If you, as a person who's going to be driving the actual business, don't have an understanding of the area, or you don't actually employ people who understand that particular area, you will struggle in terms of delivery of service. Okay, so there's that bit. Okay, so you want to make sure that you've done all these other things that the previous caller was talking about, that you want to make sure that your company is registered with Companies House. You've added the supported living element to it. You've got your business accounts are done and everything. Your marketing and your branding, they're all done. You want to make sure that you've got those things. You want to make sure you've got the right policies and procedures in place. You want to make sure that you've got your risk mitigation and risk assessment and the risk management tools in place. You also want to make sure that you've got your outcome measures. Okay, so your outcome measures really are the ones that are going to differentiate for you what type of service that you're going to be delivering, because we all of us here on this call can be able to deliver a supported living service, but the outcome measures that you have set for yourself as a standard for your organization would then determine the quality of service and the delivery, and of course the end game, the end goal for whoever goes through and the journey that they've gone through. So you want to make sure all those things are essentially accounted for, and then you want to make sure that all your accounts and your finances and that aspect of things are sorted. You have an understanding of business plans, of cash flow forecasts, of things like that, and they're all in place. And your accounts, you've got an accountant, and those things are put in place. And then you want to make sure that your HR side is also managed. So a lot of people consider that they want to go and start the business, and then they start saying, okay, I will just work myself. So it's a good thing because you're keen to start, you're anxious to get on with it. But what you're doing is that whenever that you start business, you don't start with what's happening today. You must visualize. Remember at the end of last week's session, we said we want us to be able to imagine us when we are in that successful place, isn't it? So whenever that we start a business, we start with the end in mind. We don't start with today. We start with what's supposed to come to in the future. And so what you want to do is to make sure that your HR is also looking at things like that. You've got all your employment contracts, and how are you going to be employing your people? Are they 0 hour? Are you paying cash? How are you paying are you paying sleeping? Are you paying waking nights? That will also determine your category that you're going for, because in the supported living, once you get on the tenders or the contracts or whichever way that you decided to go, you're going to have different categories 1 to 5. So you need to be able to determine which one that your service is going to deliver and how you're going to come to that conclusion. So all of that is really important, that you should understand that. And then of course you want to be having all of your liability insurances and all of that, which we spoke about last week. So you want to make sure all of that aspect is also quite covered. And then you come to the house situation, all right? And then obviously before the house situation, you then are also thinking about, am I tendering? Am I going for a spot contract? How am I actually getting the clientele into the property? So there's no need for you to jump and get a property and decide that you're going to do supported living with accommodation before you've sorted out your back office, because too many people are falling into this trap, and they quickly go and grab the house, they quickly get excitable, they become impatient with the process, and they grab that and end up with huge bills and getting a client in. I'll give you an example of one local authority that we work with. It took us maybe about eight months to a year to apply to get onto their list and what have you. Once we got onto the list and got approved, did all the interviews and whatever, qualified for everything, it then took us a further year and a half before we got the first person through the door. Not because we were not responding to referrals, we were responding to referrals every week that God sent, but because we were an unknown service in that area, it took a year and a half before anybody could trust us with the first patient. So in all of that time, if you're a new starter, you could go for a year, 2 years, and you have to be paying for the accommodation if you've gone that way, unless you already have a different customer where you've got another service user in the property. Okay, so the next thing that, as I said to you, once you've sorted out the flow of service users into your property, then that's how, if you've gone for the accommodation element, then that at that point it then makes sense to be securing a tenancy agreement. I would never ever put myself in a position where I just think of the idea of doing supported living and tomorrow I get a house. Please, guys, don't do that. You bankrupt yourself and really put yourself in a tight spot. The fact of the matter is, once you've set up your systems and everything is flowing, you do get that money back. You do get it back, but the initial cash outlay, it can be very challenging. So please be very, very vigilant over how you're doing your things, okay? And then obviously when it comes to the house itself, you're looking at issues around compliance of the environment, and then what I talked to you on the initial was compliance in terms of your paperwork and stuff, and then now you want to be talking about compliance of the environment. So you want to make sure you've got all your fire doors, your alarms, and that they're all done. And then you want to make sure that you're building relationships with whoever that you feel or wherever that you've been awarded a tender. Being awarded a tender is pointless, guys. It's the same. I would say to you, being awarded a tender is the same as saying I live in England. It means nothing if you do nothing about the tender. The value of the tender is in the delivery. What have you done since you've been living in England? What differentiates you from Carole, who's also living in England? What have you done? What is unique about you? So being awarded a tender is one thing, and that's based on the theory, and that's based on what you are promising the awarders, the commissioners, whoever it is, that you can deliver. But the thing that actually makes you be in business is the delivery. So I really want us to be very cautious and very shrewd business people. And this is one of the reasons why on this particular group, I want us to be people that can go the long haul. So if you are somebody that does not have patience, that cannot push, that cannot continue to be driven, then this is not the platform for you. And I'm not being rude. I'm just really telling you that, you know, for you to be a successful business person, you must have the tenacity to continue, to pick up, to keep going, to encourage yourself, which is why we started with that motivational video when we started today. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a summary and really allow you then to ask your questions so that you can benefit something out of the session, but obviously having kind of laid out a little bit of a foundation for you. So if we do sort of think about that, then the vision, the dream that you have, that sort of, you know, way that you envisage yourself, the way that you believe in yourself is the right way to think about yourself. That is the right way to be able to do it. So backed up with that, we want to put the character that matters, that makes you that successful person. So you want to back it up with the character that goes with it. And then you also want to back it up with information, the right information. But more importantly, you want to be able to be a doer. A doer is what makes a successful business person. And so I really want you to be able to pick that up. And I gave you a tip last week or the week before, and I said one thing that you must always do is to touch your business every day. And when we started the session, I said to you, what have you done this week? So you've got to migrate your mind from believing and living in theory phase. Do one small thing every day. Do something. Send an email. Make a phone call. Do something until that thing, you know, consumes you. All right. Otherwise, it remains as something that is so near yet so far. And I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of clarity. And certainly, I shared a little bit about this last time, but I'll share it again this time and say, you know, the biggest transition for me when I was starting off as a business person was not the fact that I had no clinical knowledge, was not the fact that I had no gifts, no skills, but it was the fact that it was challenging for me to migrate from being an employee to being an employer. And that process was very, very unsettling, very anxiety provoking. I had to read a lot of books, a lot of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So read a lot of books, read. You must really be a friend of reading, okay? And obviously network and ensure that you are aligning yourself with like-minded people. So I hope this kind of makes sense to you today and has given you a bit of insight. And I will see you on the other end. I will see you as a successful person. I will see you with results. And that is the thing that we are all fighting for in this place. And if imagine if 200 of us can be millionaires, imagine how much of a difference that will make into our own lives, but also in the communities where we are living, but more importantly, in the nation that we come from. So it is absolutely my passion, my goal to make sure that you succeed. But I'm not going to do the work for you. You will do the work for you, but we will be able to be there to encourage you, to direct you, and to support you where we can. We will not give you unrealistic goals. We will not promise you things that cannot be achieved at all. But what we can support, we will. What we cannot, we will not. All right. And I hope this kind of makes sense. All right, so I'm going to open it up to you guys so that you ask me questions, but also that, you know, if you're here and if you also know a response, it's not really just about me. Remember, I said I'm not very keen that I should be the glowing star. No, I don't have that heart at all. I think the kind of leader that I am is a transformational leader. And for as long as I'm the only one who knows what to do, then we are doing something wrong. We should come to a place where we all know, are empowered to do, maybe not everything I can do, but that you can do some of what I can do. And then that way, I think in terms of an outcome, we then will have a more positive outcome. So does that make sense? So if you're on the group and you feel that there are some areas that are being asked and you know the answers, please feel free to share. Let's do that and let's be a team. Teams are always, always better than one individual. And so I'm going to open it up to you now. Okay, so two very clear ones. Girlie, you've got the 16 to 18, 16 to 24. In fact, it's not actually 16 to 18, 16 to 24 that a lot of people are talking about. And then you've got, obviously, learning disabilities, adults, you've got mental health, you've got autism, challenging behavior. There's all sorts. So I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity there. Yes, you can have not just the nursing element, you can also just have adults who just need support, who may not necessarily have learning disabilities or sort of mental health needs, but they might need support for other complex needs. So it might be like physical health complex needs, right? That disqualifies them from qualifying into hospital admission. So they need some kind of community-based care, but they cannot live independently. There's all sorts of different elements. Your best bet is to be able to think about your skill set and your skill base, and then apply yourself in that way. Because you might want to apply yourself to mental health, but actually maybe you are a respiratory care person. And then you find that through the COVID, a lot of people are being fatigued, isn't it? So after they recover from COVID, they're so fatigued and they can't live independently. So then you start sending in your support workers who go in and support them for 6 hours a day in their homes. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to be very creative about how you create your package, and not just bog yourself down to the same way of doing things. All right. And Mutsa is saying we have been in business for 4 years, and it's true. Contracts don't come straight away. Yeah, that's true. Okay. We have been in business 4 years. Contracts don't come straight away. Thanks for your transparency. We've only just started supported living, and it's tough in terms of referrals, but it's coming along. That's so true, Mutsa. You've got to be able to, of course, trust the process, go in process by process, okay? So step by step, ensure that you are going in step by step and have the tenacity to wait. I tell you, once they start coming in and you do all those things that I mentioned before with regards to your outcome measures, your quality, and all of that, in delivering a quality service, once they use you once, they will not go anywhere else. You will be inundated. Today, this afternoon, I've done 2 assessments. We did one in the local area where we live. I did another one in Gloucester. Do you get what I mean? And we are now at that place where we can do assessments and we'll say, no, thanks. No, it's not for us, But when we started off in business, I'm telling you the truth, if I just had one assessment, even if they said he has guns, he kills people, I would just go for it, But now I'm able to do that, because also the most important thing that you must understand is the money comes as a result of delivery of service. So never go into business looking for the money. Of course, the money is good, guys. Don't get me wrong. The money is good. That's where we want to aim to go so that we've got that financial freedom. But that's not the thing that attracts us to what we are doing. What attracts us to what we are doing is about us giving a part of who we are. Do you get what I'm saying? A lot of us are already in this industry on a different scale. Maybe we're nurses, we're support workers, whatever that we are. So do the work. The money follows the work. Do you get what I mean? Don't go in thinking, if I have 10 houses, I can fill 10 beds all at once. No. Anyway, it's up to you what you do with your business. But if I was you, I would deliver the work. Do a pilot. Come back. Look at what you did right. What you didn't do right. How was it easy for you to staff? What were people struggling with? Where do people need extra training? That kind of thing. Do you catch my drift? Okay. And somebody had asked a question there around supported living. CQC rating will help in the business. Slow and steady wins the race. Yes, absolutely. I do agree that slow and steady wins the race. I think sometimes we can become a little bit over ambitious and greedy. And you'll find that a lot of people who do it that way usually fold very quickly on the wayside. I liken it to the time that we all came to the UK. If you remember, some of us came in the early 90s. And at that time, it was nursing. And some people said, no, I won't do nursing. Some people got student grants and they closed their accounts and they went back home and all this. Those that were patient enough to go through the training, go through the work permit, they came out a certain way, isn't it? We are in exactly the same process now, but just in terms of business. So hold your horses, guys. let's do this and do it well. The outcome is definite. It will happen. All right. I saw somebody's question and then I missed it. Let me just check that question. Someone was asking a question about policies. Nancy, Chipo is saying, so can you mix up your supported living accommodation and supported living in their own homes? Yes, Chipo, you can. That's really your business model. It depends on you, isn't it? What you feel that your staff can manage, that you can manage, what you can afford to pay. I always recommend that if you can afford to start your business without debt, I know it's not always possible for everyone, but if it is possible to start your business without debt, then try and do it that way. Try to be able to do it in a manageable way, and not really going for invoicing, whatever. You can, but if you do that, it's like you are on a trap. You know those invoice finance people? It's a trap. That is a trap. It will give you an illusion of growth, but it won't be real growth. Okay. All right, so maybe I can take a couple more questions. Okay, that is variable, Chipo, on how big or how small that you want your business to be, and whether you have existing, if you're choosing to go with the one that needs accommodation. If you're going to go with the one that does not need accommodation, you don't really need money because you're just going to give packages and send support workers. It's more or less like dom care, a bigger, supported living is a step up from dom care. Do you get what I mean? So you may not need a lot of money to start your business. But if you're going to go with the accommodation element, that's where people fail a lot. Because when we were doing the dom care, we started off with dom care. I'll tell you how we did it. We did the dom care for some time. I didn't enjoy dom care, but I didn't have money when I started off. So the only thing I could manage to do to get myself into business was the dom care. So we did the dom care. Then when we had passed a certain threshold, for us, we wanted to like turn over, like 20, 30,000 a month, something like that, for us to be able to migrate to the next thing. Then at that point, the business was okay enough for us to be able to then afford to pay for the accommodation. Do you get what I mean? So the dom care side of the business funded the supported living while we were, waiting on people to come from. So we had a budget of about 20,000. So I can't tell you a definitive figure. You have to figure that out for yourself if you want to go direct into it. I didn't go that route, so I don't want to lie to you. Okay, I missed a couple of questions. I have a recruitment business already, but getting my CKC registered is possible. Question: is there a tender for learning disability supported living? Is there a tender? Yes, there are tenders for learning disability supported living. Yeah, definitely. So you have to be able to just get on the tenders and apply for them. Bonani is more of a tender expert. When I was telling you about the business hubs and then telling you about when you need more detailed conversation. It was this, like in a day, maybe people now that they've got my number, maybe 20 or 30 people might call me in one day, and each person has got a different question. Yeah. So like I said before, we needed to systemize this thing. But if you're someone who needs support with regards to tendering, right? In as far as applying, what needs to be in a tender and how to write tenders that can pass, and I can do that, but the person who's best at it is Bonani. Do you get what I'm saying? So for Bonani's time, for it to be able to sit down with you and explain that and do whatever, that's what we're saying. You then might need to book some sessions, which then, if we decide that's the way that we're going, would cost you something like £50 a session. And I think, when we started off, I think I was also overwhelmed. I don't want to lie. It was too much. Yeah, I even thought about closing this whole thing. I don't want to lie. It was too much. And then, you start getting a lot of people saying whatever they want to say. And you think, but this is for free, guys. You get what I mean? So let it be clear. Being on this Zoom call, having the advice that you get, it's all free. Understand? It's part of our charity arm. So if being in the hub, the business hub like this is a free service, okay? But then when you want something more detailed, You understand? You can appreciate that it will take more time from the time that we are sitting and talking now. It's okay now when we're a group of 200 and we can answer 20, 30 questions all at once. Imagine if I had to spend an hour with everyone here. It means I would do 200 hours just to answer one question. Can you understand what I mean? It means I would get poor because I would be away from my business.
Yes.
So it doesn't make sense. It's not a reasonable request to do that to any one of us. It's almost it's not fair for us to expect that of each other, guys. Okay, so yes, the one-to-one sessions, not so much one-to-one, but the more detailed sessions will be a fee to it. And then if you then want coaching, say, there's some of you that might feel, you know what, yeah, okay, we're doing the group sessions, but I think I want more time with Carole, Auntie, or more time with whoever. That time that you're going to ask me for that day, I might have been getting 2 clients in that would be worth X amount of thousands.
Yeah.
Do you get me? So especially when it comes to the coaching, there might be a fee to it. At the moment, there isn't, but I don't know what that's going to look like. And if it does, that's why we wanted the Survey Monkeys. And on the issue of the Survey Monkeys, we've sent out introductory emails, right? If you haven't received an introductory email, Bonani, can you put the business email on the chat? If you have not received your introductory email, please can you just email this email that's coming up, business@loracfoundation.co.uk. If you just quickly email that, and because sometimes some of the emails are going into spam, and some people have been responding and saying they haven't received them. So if you haven't received yours, please just email us quickly, and then we make sure that you're on the mailing list. All right, okay, guys. So any other questions? People have told me recruitment is easy. It's not easy, that recruitment thing. No.
It's the contract, isn't it, that are very difficult.
Yes. And then begging people, calling people every day, please cover this. It wasn't for me. But then, but then, you can put dom care and put supported living, both of them if you want. But if you're going for your initial inspection, I probably would say go with one or the other. You know why?
Yeah.
Because if you put both, right, on your initial inspection, you're going to be inspected on both. And it just means your inspection is just going to be so stressful. So if you did the dom care, for instance, right? As soon as you get your dom care, you can add supported living. You don't need another interview for it. Okay, yeah, definitely you need the statement of purpose, especially if you're going to do the CQC application. Because essentially the statement of purpose is you telling us what you want to do. Okay, what a great way to be able to round up as well in terms of our session. And we will do a session on purpose. Okay, and part of it is about that. It's about that charity, that CIC. I'm just looking through the emails that you're sending through right now, and I've got an email here actually telling us, yeah, we've got a grant for one of our charity projects and things like that, isn't it? So if you're looking to do that, you make sure that you've got your limited company and you've got your charity as well. I'll teach you about that on a different day. But if you are somebody that is doing business and a sustainable business, have both. Okay, have both, and I'll teach you about that later on as we go. The email address is business, small letter B, business@loracfoundation.co.uk, business@loracfoundation.co.uk. And we've received an email from Berita Masawi, Chamunorwa also, and a few others. So just correct that, business@loracfoundation.co.uk. All right, so let's quickly get some feedback on today's session. Just quickly type in whether you found it useful or not useful, and make sure that you send the email. Okay, make sure that you send the email to business@loracfoundation.co.uk, especially if you did not receive your Survey Monkey, your first letter, your first email. Please, can you ensure that you do that? All right, and let's do that. Business@loracfoundation.co.uk. And do not be discouraged by people who are leaving. They are meant to leave. It's okay. Don't be distracted. It's okay. If you know what, I'm quite happy if we had 15 of us, and we are 15 people who are going to work for a year, 2 years, and we're going to have outcomes. I'm happy. I'm very happy for that. I'm not really someone who's looking for 200 numbers. It's good if there's 200 of us who are focused, but it's not really about that at all. It's more about people who are determined, who are ready. So a lot of us are like, tender this. Oh, okay, it's good, but you can get a spot contract. Just go in and speak to a commissioner and get. All you need is a patient, not a tender.
Yeah.
You get me? But if you want to get a tender, don't say, Carole, stop me. Go and get the tender. Our time is up. If you don't see me responding on the group, please, during the day, don't get angry with me. I'm also trying to run a business, okay? So in the evenings, I'm more available, but feel free to still communicate and put your questions and everything. We have to get the other group in, but thank you so much, everyone. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you tonight. And I've seen all the feedback that you've sent. And the emails are starting to come through as well on the business@loracfoundation.co.uk. So please make sure that you do send your emails on there. All right. Okay, guys. Good night, guys. I hope you have a lovely evening. And make sure that I will post this as well on YouTube. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Good night. Bye-bye.